Hey guys, one could argue that in the world of AI models and large language models, open source has won around over the closed source competition. DeepSeek-R1 model was released just a few days ago, and they say that the performance is on par with OpenAI's O1 model. And this is a fully open source model and has an MIT license which allows you to commercially use. Let's still come back to that fully open source part because I would argue that not entirely fully open source. What makes this such a huge achievement is that the training cost and the inference cost fraction of what OpenAI's top model O1 requires. Here in this article from VentureBeat, they say that it outpaced OpenAI at 3% of the cost. Numbers like 6 million or 5.5 million for a training cost have been thrown around for the R1 model, but perhaps that's not entirely accurate. If you check the DeepSeek's release page, you can find the paper listed here, or if you go to the GitHub, you can find the DeepSeek-R1 paper. This paper on GitHub for DeepSeek-R1, this is an interesting read, and it's 22 pages, but it doesn't actually tell anything about the training cost. So where the training cost information is coming from is the previous DeepSeek version 3 model, which in December. This paper for the V3, you can find it on the GitHub page as well. This is the MIT license. It's an open weights model as well. Here they have table for the training costs. They have calculated or noted that so in the table they show 2,664,000 pre-training hours, then context extension is some hours, and post-training 5,000 hours, and they are calculating with the $2 GPU rental price. They come up with a cost of $5.576 million US dollars. In the text, they do note that the aforementioned costs include only the official training of DeepSeek version 3, excluding the costs associated with prior research and application experiments or architecture algorithms or data. So there has been some criticism of using this number to fully describe the training cost because you have personal costs. There have been a lot of people involved in this and other training runs. But of course, one reason this achievement has been possible is building on open source and what has been published and made open source before this model was trained. But one must think that the commercial players like OpenAI might be concerned with what has been achieved with this, even though it's hard to know what the actual cost of this project has been to create version 3, DeepSeek version 3 and the DeepSeek-R1. Still, most likely investment has been a lot smaller than what OpenAI has been spending on its models. And if you go further on the DeepSeek web page, you can find the models and pricing for reference. So here you can see the DeepSeek Reasoner model. This is the DeepSeek-R1 model, which be similar in performance compared to OpenAI's O1 model. Cost for 1 million input tokens is $0.40, and the 1 million tokens output price is $2.19. if you go on the OpenAI's API pricing website, look at their top model, the O1 model, price is $15 for 1 million input tokens and $60 for 1 million output tokens. So it really is a fraction of cost. One could also argue that these might not be the real costs for inference, but since this model has an MIT license and it's an open weights model, models have been published. That means that likely AI companies will deploy this model, try it out for themselves. So it would be quite quickly discovered if the inference costs aren't real ones. For the training side, likely AI companies are also interested in the results and will try to replicate this approach. If you have a further look on the GitHub page for DeepSeek's version 3 or DeepSeek-R1, you can find the license information, and you can find information on where to download the models. There is also README for the weights, but you can't really find code for exactly how this has been trained and exact training data used. Of course, there are the papers which give some kind of idea. In this VentureBeat article, they also mentioned that while the company hasn't divulged the exact training data used, modern techniques make training on web datasets increasingly accessible. There's a side note that this means that deep isn't truly open. So I kind of partially agree that if you don't publish what data you have exactly trained on, how you have trained the model, well, is it then truly open source in a way where someone else could retrain it and replicate and perhaps train it differently and improve upon it. So in the sense of comparing it to a open source code project or application, it's not fully open like something like that would be. It seems also that in the investment world there is some concern for how much cheaper this training was and also how much cheaper the inference is. So for example, Nasdaq did take a dip today when there was news about training down. I guess the argument there was that since those large companies have been investing a lot in AI, they have been kind of over investing since you can do it with more limited resources. But on the other hand, if costs go down, most likely there will be a lot more use cases where these AI models will be used. So whoever has most compute will leverage that to power more use cases. You could kind of argue each way, and of course the stock market goes up and down. So I wouldn't use that as a predictor future. If you found this video interesting or helpful, please give it a thumbs up for watching.